idea of maintaining constant communication and telling a story with passion and energy and vividness keeps people locked in. And we always say that lack of consistency brings a lack of interest. So if you want to be interesting, you better have a consistent way of presenting yourself.
Welcome to Marketing by Design, where you and I learned from our favorite founders and marketers on how they built their success and told their stories by design. I am your host, Andy Milligan. Let's get started.
You have to know how to talk. Being in a relationship, in a marriage, it's the number one breakdown that causes the fall of a relationship is lack of communication. Always talking, always being able to communicate what you're thinking and feeling very clearly. It helps bridge any type of gap that might be there.
And also, like, storytelling is one of your guys' biggest main
Yeah.
value props.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
can say a story one way, and if you don't articulate your thoughts, you don't resonate clearly, it's not going to
Yeah.
land nearly as well. That's one of the biggest
No.
reasons I started the show is like because I grew up as like I have double hearing loss. That's why we decided to transition the audio because it was coming through my hearing aids. But I was like very inarticulate. I was taking speech therapy growing up. I realized like storytelling, it makes a huge difference. The way
hmm
you resonate, like the gusto behind your words,
hmm
is very, very important.
The passion that you have, not using filler words like and and keeps that person intent and engaged. And when you go to movies, you're always engaged because that performance, whether it's on Broadway or in a movie or something, always has your attention. That would be the equivalent of them going to a black screen or a white screen in the middle of the movie and not having any content and picking up. Like you're going to lose interest. Our minds fluctuate every 8 seconds to a different thought. And while you and I are communicating and we're sharing this, every 8 seconds, there's something going on. Like, is your audio working? Is the Wi-Fi okay? Right? It doesn't mean you're not paying attention, but our thoughts tend to flutter into certain areas. So that idea of maintaining constant communication and telling a story with passion and energy and vividness keeps people locked in. And we always say that lack of consistency brings a lack of interest. So if you want to be interesting, you better have a consistent way of presenting yourself.
I love that. You touched on something a little bit ago. You talked about I think one of the biggest things I kind of want to do transition this conversation around, especially you guys in particular. I think you're very well suited to talk about is this idea of growth and sort of knowing
hmm
your trajectory. Say
hmm
a lot of the listeners they go to the 898 website, they'll see above the fold for front and center scale growth, how one of the
Yep.
fastest growing companies in the state, even the world. So can you talk to me about when you started the company? And we'll get more into the depth of the story, but for people who want to grow, how important is it to have the vision of what you want to become? Because I can't imagine maybe in the beginning when you started this thing, maybe I think you're a very aspirational person. So maybe this was on your agenda or under agenda, you had these intentions to make it happen. But how talk to me about the idea of growth, how you handle that. What are your mindsets around it? Because I think too, and sort of doubling down on it is success and growth aren't exactly the same thing. Like for some people,
Nope.
aligning with their intentions of staying small, keeping margins at a manageable level, not hiring. There
hmm
are different flavors of what success can look like. So talk to me about why growth is your version of success.
So I'll take that in chunks, right? So the
Okay.
first one was going back to where we started, right? On our 5-year anniversary, the Vindicator, which is the newspaper in Youngstown, did a story on us celebrating our 5th anniversary. And you could Google it and you could find it. Like I literally said in there, our goal is to keep it to like 6 or 8 partners. We want to be small.
Hmm.
Like we want to be small, right? Like the idea of growing to where we were now was not in my plan. And so the first thing I will say is it is extremely important to have your vision and your plan in place because without the goals to achieve something, it is just a dream. That is the difference between a dream and a goal. A goal has tangible outcomes and steps that you're going to take to make that happen. A dream is grabbing a penny and throwing it in a wishing well, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is to understand that your plans are not the inevitable. Your plans are just what you're working towards, and those plans have to be fluid. They have to be able to fluctuate. The reason we've grown outside of the original intention that we had at 898 Marketing was because of three things. One, we did a great job at what we do, which wanted more people to want to work with us. Two, when more people wanted to work with us from a partnership perspective, that means we needed to acquire more talent that shared the same cultural views that we have as an organization. Not talent. We could teach talent. We could teach design. We could teach video production. We could teach podcasting. We could teach content development. We can teach account management. We can't teach people to be empathetic. We can't teach people to have a moral compass. We can't teach people to have a sense of self and self-worth and responsibility to use their talents to serve others. That's what we want. Because when you have a selfless mentality behind what you're doing, the success then comes on the backside and you're not worried about what you get out of it. You're worried about what you're delivering to somebody else. And then the third element was that the environment changed of what we were doing. You know, our growth happened because we embraced programmatic, connected TV, and data analytics for our marketing and our advertising. And once we embrace that digital realm and then start bracing AI, that's when it catapulted us to a totally different level, which was not attainable or even conceivable in the original realm we were talking about. So those three things of understanding that your vision matters because you need to have goals set behind it. Acquiring great people that share your goal and vision of being a good human and being a good society, as well as being good at what you do, are extremely important. And then understanding that the only given and the only thing that is going to remain constant through this whole process is that it's going to have to change. You're going to have to pivot. You can either pause or pivot under stress. And if you pause, you're gonna lose ground. But understanding that you might not be right. And humility is a great trait to have, to understand that I don't know everything. That's why I surround myself with smarter people than I am in our business. We have LIM, which is called Leader and Me Board. And they're 5 individuals representing each of the disciplines that we work under and how we've divided it. And every month I meet with them and they help us make business decisions. They help us move the company forward. It's insane to think that I know everything. There's only there's only one person in this entire world who ever walked the planet that really probably knew everything. Like, I don't know it all. And so the idea that there are people around me who share the same vision of success and of self-worth and of value and of morality, that I trust them. And they'll tell me if I'm not doing something right. And more importantly, they'll tell me if I'm doing something great and we need to keep going. And that's how we've managed to grow from literally an army of one in 2014 to 2 team members in 2015 to 11 team members in 2019. And now we have 47 in 2025. Like it's interesting how that momentum continues to happen, but it's scary. It's scary, Andy. Like, growth is scary. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you scale to meet external needs. You scale to meet the needs of the expectations that you set. And when you do
Yeah.
good work, when you set the bar very high, it continually, that's just the concept of momentum. It's like once you start, you then have to, reach the bar that you already set for yourself. Um,
Hmm.
can you talk to maybe we circle back on the beginning, these hard scenarios? Talk to me about that first hire and why maybe that and how that prepared you to, do that exponentially, because some people, they approach the idea of outsourcing in a very emotional way.
Hmm.
I think the people that have, and that's why it's so hard, because it's, again, it's knowing what success looks like. And you even said in the beginning too, you had disparate goals in terms of what it currently ended up growing to be. So talk to me about that first time when you maybe had to say like, "Hey, I need help in executing this vision," and who you leaned on to make that happen.
So that was a very difficult thing for me to do, was to realize that I got to a place where I couldn't handle it all because I was by myself for a year, and I needed someone that I could trust, someone that I could lean on, that I knew that it was going to be hard for me, and they also knew it was going to be hard for me. And it just so happened that my cousin on my wife's side of the family was a communications major at Duquesne. Um, was a standout student, was looking for an internship, and so I brought her on as an intern. And then on my wife's birthday in 2015, I think it was, maybe 2016, no, I think it's 2015, I asked her to become a part of our team full time when she graduated from Duquesne. And she was ecstatic. She was elated. But honestly, the scary part for me was, who would want to come work for one person,
Mhm.
right? It was more
Right.
internal. It was more self-doubt and more, you know, um, imposter syndrome effect on my part. And so I love that you said you got to leave emotion at the door. This is not an emotional decision. This is a strategic, tactical solution. And the only emotion that should be involved, and what I've learned over the time, is that the emotion is not cannot be tied to the financial, investment that you're making or sacrifices that you're making. It cannot be tied to the ego side of things, that you're giving something up or that you're letting someone in or you can't do it. The only emotional side to it is, I'm not going to let this person down, and I'm going to give them a place where they can come and be proud to work. That's my job. And
Yeah.
their
I
job
think
is going to prove, right? Their job is going to prove why we brought them on board. I tell every team member, our relationship is very simple. Every single day, you're here to prove that you are the best person for the position that you hold at 898 Marketing. And on my end, I'm doubting that. I'm questioning you every single day, not doubting your abilities, but I'm coming in saying, "What are you doing today?" And I asked it of myself. Like, and that's the relationship, whether it's a harsh truth, but that is where we are in corporate America and with capital and in a capitalistic society. It's okay, what are you doing to earn your spot here? And the rent's due every single day, every day.
yeah, that's a great mindset to have. I think too, it's I mean, for people who are in the founder space, it resonates a lot more. I feel like there are some people, and not everyone's cut out to build their own thing. Not everyone wants to bear the
Oh,
burden of being the
no.
leader, the one that's looking at the P&L, the one that has to make the hard decisions, the one that's hiring, the one that has to fire.
Mhm.
A it's a different conversation, and not everyone's cut out, and that's totally fine. Like some people want to, and I've seen people, we hire contractors and people that are just so good at this one very specific thing. They get so much life out of over delivering in this one thing, and you're just like, man, I want that person to thrive. Like I want to give them everything that they need in order to make that tilt, that unique skill set that they have so much more impact. And I think, as founders, we're positioned to do that in a way that, you know, that's our opportunity, but it also comes with so
Yeah,
much of that hardship.
it does. It does, but it's also so beautiful to see, having been in that position. Like, right, we've been fortunate to see both sides of the coin. And we've been fortunate enough to be in the position our team members are in, where they're trusting the leaders of the organization to do and set the example and show them what it takes to get to the next level. Or if they don't want that, to be grateful that they have a place where they can just be the best version of themselves every day. I don't ask anybody to be better than they were yesterday, because I don't think that that's a feasible goal. But for the day that you're there, to be the best that you can be for that day. And so that idea that we're just trying to be the best we can for that day allows all of us to be put in the position that you talked about, where it's not about titles or responsibilities or roles. It's about my part of the team as a whole. And so whether it's whether it's P&Ls or whether it's Google Analytics or whether it's website metrics or coding. That day, all that's asked of you is to give everything you have that you can for that day, because you can't change the past. My father always told me, he goes, the past, the past is history, the future is a mystery, and all we have is the gift of today, which is why we call it our present. And like, that's all we have. And so giving everything today and not worrying about the outcomes or tomorrow is what helps collectively make the system work, because everybody's working and pushing the boulder up the hill in one direction. And the minute someone starts veering off, the boulder gets a little harder to carry, not just for the owner or the leader, but for the team members, for the account coordinators, for the secretaries, for the visitors, right? Like it impacts everybody.
Mhm. 100%. So we've touched on mindset, we've touched on philosophical, we've touched on doing hard things, and we talked about this idea of scaling and growth. Now I kind of want to zoom in maybe like 10% more tactical when we talk about this idea of growth and expanding the impact that you want to have, whether it's through a smaller team size vision or if it's through multiplying that through more bodies, more industries. Something that I see especially a lot in founders or solo freelancers, service providers in the marketing space is that they don't have their flag planted in one specific vertical, whether that's around their own positioning, their own spiky point of view, their own differentiator.
Hmm.
I see a lot of people who just say, I do anything for anyone who will pay me.
Hmm.
Talk to me about how, and this is just from an outside perspective, how
Hmm.
898 has used its own story and its own values to create a differentiator rather than saying we niche down by this one specific service for this one specific audience, which I would generally be my recommendations for someone just getting started. But if you're someone that's just getting started and you want to do everything for everyone, what was kind of your approach around saying this is our story and this is the one specific thing that we do without shoehorning yourself into one too small of a box, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And I get asked this all the time. Like, well, what industry do you compete in? Like, what companies do you service? I was like, well, we service all companies. Well, how do you service all companies? Well, marketing's agnostic, right? Marketing is so umbrella like in the amount of services and industries that everybody needs it. And so from day one, there were two things that I wanted to make sure we did well. One, that we had a story that resonated with people on something more than we deliver effective marketing solutions. We tell, right? It was, it's the story behind the numbers of 898 marketing that connects with someone. There is meat behind it. There's more than just marketing that you're going to get when you work with us, or effective strategies or digital or whatever. You're going to get way more out of it from a personal perspective and a professional perspective to meet the goals. And the second thing was everything needed to have a goal behind it. No gray area, black and white. And if we don't hit the area that we're going towards, we reimburse our partners. We give money back. We don't collect our retainer. Like, there's accountability in everything that we do. And there are partners that we've walked away from for significant dollars where we literally told them, we can't help you anymore. We've taken you as far as we could. And here's who you need to go see now. There are partners that unfortunately we've underperformed. And we went back and said, yeah, I know the retainer is X, but we're going to lower our retainer for the next 6 months because you're not utilizing our services, or we're not delivering on what we've meant to deliver on. And we're going to fix that. But until we fix that, you shouldn't have to pay for what we promised you. And we do that. Every single partner we work with starts out with like a questionnaire, because we don't specialize in healthcare. We don't specialize in automotive or travel, right? We could help anybody. And the reason we know that is every potential partner that we work with fills out a questionnaire. It asks them about their company. It asks them about their point of contacts that we're going to be dealing with, their views on marketing, what worked, what hadn't worked, what their dreams are, what their goals are, where they see themselves. Like, it's a pretty intensive questionnaire. But what that allows us to do is figure out if we're the right partner and we can help them. because the worst thing you could say as an agency is yes. The worst thing you could say is yes. The best thing you could say is, wait, what do you want? What can I help you with? And by understanding that and what the goals are, then we position ourselves in a different way because not only are we accountable, but now the value proposition's there.
Mhm.
So it's not a matter of cost. It's not a matter of spend. It's a matter of what are you willing to invest for the value of what we're going to deliver to you? Because this is what you said you wanted, and this is what we're going to deliver. And oh, by the way, if we don't deliver on it, you get the investment, part of the investment back. I mean,
Yeah.
it's accountability. I think there are just so many, and the toughest part that we run into, that anybody in marketing runs into, is the experience the partner had prior to you, because they're
Mm.
coming to someone new because someone messed up, right? Something didn't go well. And there's some sort of tainted view that marketing's terrible. Ah, you guys don't know what you're
Mhm.
doing. You girls
Yeah.
don't understand this, right? Because every time something goes wrong in an organization, what's the first thing they look at cutting? Their spend in
Mhm.
marketing. I would argue that the most important part of any company is your marketing department. It is your bloodline and your constant connection to the outside world. And everybody is involved. It's your biggest department out of anybody. It's more important than sales. It's more important than HR, more important than accounting, because everybody is a marketer. You're marketing the company you work for. You're marketing the services. You're telling that story. So cutting that as a resource never seemed, it seems like a juxtaposition to me. It seemed ironic that, well, business is struggling and we need to do better. So we're going to cut the thing that helps us do better. Maybe you're not doing the thing better as best as you can. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
my viewpoint on how that all works from a standpoint of trust and confidence and how we position ourselves in a space where right now you need to know how to do everything, because
Mhm.
someone can go to an AI software and find it all out for themselves.
Mhm.
And that's probably going to be the biggest challenge in the future.
Yeah. That's a good summary. I think a couple few things that you said there that I love is the setting expectations. That's something we see a lot of people struggle with in the beginning.
Hmm.
Is especially when what I really love that you said is that you didn't say yes to everything either. So you look at 898 from the outside, someone that's grown very fast, someone that's achieved economies of scale, and one might think, wow, they said yes to everything. They spared no expense. When in reality, strategic yeses and knowing
Yep.
what to say yes to is actually the most important thing. Because I'm very like the pot calling the kettle black here is you say yes to the wrong opportunities, it's going to hurt you more than it helps. You take on a client that, from the outside, you get jaded by maybe the relationship or just the top
Hmm.
line number, and you don't realize how long or how intensive or how resource draining things can be. And also, it takes into account like the alignment there, like the partners that you do choose to take on. There has to be a values alignment there. You have to have similar goals. You have to
Yep.
communicate well. You have to be in tandem because, especially as like marketing as service providers, you have to understand that there's a level of not going into a ton of detail with everything. A lot of times when people work with you, it's because they want it off their plate. They want their hand held through the process. They want to be led
Hmm.
through the process because they don't know what to do. So I love that you said that you actually say no to certain opportunities because they can come at the expense of growth, even though that is one thing that you guys have achieved. So I love that.
You know, I appreciate you saying that. I'll tell you two stories. One, quickly, we had an amazing opportunity with a large partner that was a significant revenue stream for our company. And we said yes to it. It was the most taxing thing on our team, to the point where after the relationship was over, amicably, and the project was over, it wasn't going to be ongoing. We knew that there was a finite period, that we got together and we agreed we would never go through that again without doing this first, because we took it because it was a revenue stream, right? We took it because it was a significant payday. And that was the wrong thing to do because there was way more casualties from emotional and physical breakdown of our team members and frustration over not being able to deliver on certain things than there would have been in the casualty of not having that revenue. We learned that there's always money to be made somewhere else. It's finding the right way to make the right money for the right situation, which is why the second part of the story is it's why we work with some partners that are paying, three figures to work with us because it's the right thing to do. It's the right partner to work with. We'll grow with them. It might be
Mm,
$1,000 project, but you know what? The mission that they're carrying out is what we want to be a part of. The growth opportunity that they have is what we want to be a part of. It is passing on the quick nickel for a slow dime financially, but an immediate dollar because of the culture that it helps reinforce of who we are. And we always pride ourselves on doing the right thing, no matter what. Money never leads, it follows. You do the right thing. And if it means we have to do double the work, then we do double the work. If it means we have to start all over, we start all over. If it means we have to give money back, then we give the money back because it's the right thing to do. And that's ultimately what these partners are looking for us for. What's the right thing to do for my company? So if we're not representing that in everything that we do, how can they trust us to do it for the thing they want us to do the most?
mhm. Yeah, dude, so good. So good. We've talked a lot about growth, talked a lot about scaling, talked a lot about mindset, we talked a lot about doing hard things. I want to zoom in a little bit on Jeff, the founder. I think this would be a good place to land the plane. How are you focusing on growth personally? Because I think as a founder, as someone who is at this, pressure position, you have the expectations of a lot, you have like the expectations of your team members, delivering from them, showing up every day. How are you focusing on growth in the chapter of life that you are in currently?
Finding ways to stay young mentally. Physically, I've got, I don't even have hair to get gray. So now it's just going into my beard, bro. Right. But constantly working with team members to stay in tune with what they have going on and where they see things. And then appreciating and uniting with the mentors that I've been fortunate enough to come in contact with to guide me along the road that I need to go on as first and foremost a family man, like my number one priority. And everybody you talk to at our team, it would probably be the most disheartening thing that I would hear is that if you went to people on our team and you asked them, what does Jeff place more emphasis on? You being a good husband, father, sister, daughter, wife, brother, sister, right? Or you being a good team member at work? If they placed work over that, I would feel like I failed them because that passion that you have outside should drive this, not the other way around. And so always remembering that at this level, growth starts to get more appealing. We get emails every day, Andy, about we have a VC that wants to acquire you. We want to see your EBITDA as we saw was here, and we're going to give you this. And would you take on an investment partner? Right? Like the glorification and the monetary and rewards that are out there are big and real, but that's not success. That's not success. When I come home and our 13 and 11-year-old daughters are like, Daddy, how are your partners today? Did you get any new partners? Did you talk to the Greenwoods? Did you talk to Mr. Moransky? Right? Like they know our partners by name. And so that idea of they're helping drive me and motivate me, right? They're helping
Mm,
see that. Uh, but the idea of me staying on top of my game comes from one final point, which is disseminating and sharing what I've learned elsewhere, from professional to personal to philanthropic initiatives, right? Like I love serving. My wife tells me, like, we just got into a conversation yesterday. She's like, you have something planned every damn night. It's like social city with you. Like, why do we have to go here? Why do we have, and I'm like, that's who I am, right? Like I love giving back and I love being with people and sharing what I have experienced because I know it will help someone else. And oh, by the way, they're going to tell me something that's going to help me too.
Mhm.
So this idea that there's something else out there bigger than us that we're meant to cultivate, and this is how I'm being asked to do it, is what truly drives me to do more. So that my our daughters will look and say, "Well, I want to be like dad." And I'm grateful that they have a mother that they can see as a role model professionally and personally that they're like, "I'm gonna be her." Right? They can try to be like dad, but because they're girls, they're not gonna be like me. But they have a woman in my wife that they're like, "That's what I'm gonna be. That's what I want to be." And so collectively being able to set the example for our team members, for the team members I have in my house, for the team members that I work with on the boards and at the schools that they go to, that's what pushes me and wants me to be better. Like we're called to be better. We're called to serve others. And it just so happens that we do it by telling stories and developing some creative ass stuff that helps people live their dreams.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I love especially too that the thing that's resonating the most with you in terms of what success looks like is a lot of these things we just talked about. It's not all the awards, it's not, the
No.
fastest growing, agency in the Midwest, the state. So I love that we've landed a plane on this topic of the conversation because I think that's what's important to keep front of mind for anyone trying to build, for anyone trying to tell their own story, and get momentum going in the marketing space. So man, AMA thanks you a ton. I thank you a ton.
Love
I've
the
learned a lot
AMA.
from you
Look,
today.
the first thing I did when I graduated from Miami University, I was looking for an internship my junior year, and no one would hire me. There were 3 agencies in Cleveland that I wanted to work for, and they wouldn't hire me. And so the headhunter that I was working with told me, "The best thing that you can do is join the AMA." And so I joined the AMA as a junior at Miami University, and that's how I got my first job. Because the connection that I made there was a graduate of Miami University. He was working at Young and Rubicam, Y&R Advertising. They had account coordinator position open. He's like, "Look, you have to move to Detroit." And I was like, "I'll move anywhere." And that's literally how I got it. So the AMA literally helped me find out who I am, what I am, but also where I am today. Like that was my first job. And it all came from a connection. So look at that. You did not know that. That is not a shameless plug. That is more honest and truth in what this organization is and means to our industry. So yeah, any way that I can help and give back to it for helping me get to where I am, which kind of weird. Like we come full circle, dude.
Yeah, I was
So
about to say.
so it's awesome.
That's amazing, man. Well, I encourage all the listeners to thank you for that testimonial, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have that recorded.
Yeah.
Where can the listeners go to learn about the 898 story? I mean, go to that about page
Yeah.
is the first place I would send people. But where can they get in touch with you, maybe start a conversation and learn more about what you do?
Yeah, look, 898marketing.com is our website. If you're wondering what the numbers mean, the story is there and you could see it and it is real and it is hopefully you can see the honesty and the passion that I have and how it evolved into what our company's name is and how all of our team members embrace it. But contacting me, I'm not hard to find. It's Jeffrey Ryznar on every single social media platform out there. Ryznar, Ryznar. You can find me on Insta, LinkedIn, Facebook, any meta program, any meta platform, Snap, everything. So take a look. And you can also email at info@898marketing.com. That's the general inbox. And it comes to me and also goes to 2 other team members. So feel free, just info@898marketing.com. Really simple. And I'd love to hear if there's any questions that you might have, any comments or constructive feedback over what we've said. Whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. It's about making sure that the conversation happens and happens in a forum where there's respect and love on both sides because you never know what you're going to find out until you ask the question. So yeah, appreciate the platform, appreciate the plug and definitely finding it worthy enough to spend some time with you, Andy. Truly do.